Probably them.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Mark Shipman. I am National President of Parents for Children, and we're an organisation that formed about 2.5 years ago to push for reform in child support and family law. And the underlying thrust of it is a better outcome for our children. Bevan and Jim organised this forum and asked me to come along and talk to you about the legislation that's going on and the effect it will have. I'm going to add a couple of things in there and paint a fairly bleak picture. The goal is to get everyone here, and I'd like you to talk to 4 or 5 other people that you know and ask them to come along to the conference in Wellington. We need to show unity and we need to show numbers. So the legislation that Bevan was talking about is the Child Support Amendment Bill. Mr Cunliffe, with a silent T of course, introduced that to the House last year in August, prior to the election, and about 3 weeks ago it went into law. Mr Dunn picked it up by virtue of his associate ministership that was given to him by Auntie Helen, and he's carried that through virtually unchanged. I know Murray and I worked on submissions, and I know Jan put one in. We worked the system, we presented to the Social Services Select Committee, and yeah, Paula Bennett was good. She certainly actively asked questions. Philip Tyto Field, he asked one and then went to sleep, so I don't know how much good he'll be. The amendment bill extends the current Child Support Act, and it gives far greater powers to the Commissioner of Inland Revenue. He now has the right to initiate an administrative review without application from either party. They've increased their rights of, or powers of arrest at the border, and the intimations we have is that a $2,000 debt will be sufficient to get you stopped from leaving the country or arrested on entry.
I thought that section had not.
It's there, as far as I'm aware. The penalty thing, the writing off of penalties, that's always been there. The Commissioner has always had that power, so Dunn standing up there and going, oh yes, but we're going to give you all these penalties back, always been there. Not an improvement in the Act.
So if you owe too much child support, you won't be able to leave the country. 5,000 is it?
2,000 is the number that we heard mooted.
So the
Now,
fines is 2,000, 5,000, and the child support is 2,000. So children are lesser in value than the fines. Shocking.
What if you're a student and you owe, students collectively owe $5.6 billion? Are they allowed to leave the country? Yes,
Yeah.
they are, aren't they?
any old time.
Mr Dunn, when he was questioned about in Parliament when they asked why aren't you going to stop people at the border, he said because that involves some tricky legal issues.
Yeah.
They know damn well they can't do it.
It might take them some time, Bevan, they'll manage it. But
The reason I heard was that they would arrest you when you returned, because it's easier to deal with customs and stuff when you're on your way back in. They'll let you go, because
okay.
they don't have to. If they arrest you, then they don't have to stop you and get your luggage off the plane, and it becomes a whole kerfuffle. So
Okay.
they'll arrest you when you come back in,
Right.
because it's easier for them to.
I can understand that.
Because you've then got your luggage, you see, by the time you go through customs.
Yep.
But that was the excuse and the variation I heard.
I'll get to say that. So what we have is a bill that allows the Commissioner far greater powers than he had before. The second facet, how many of you have an ex that at some stage has been on the DPB? I know Jim has.
No, I've never got
No, the ex.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Still is.
Okay. The Department of Inland Revenue have recently taken action to step in and intercede in a case that came up in Rotorua where a guy was applying to the family court for a departure order. They have chosen that case to overturn the precedent that departure orders may not be granted for historical years. And it has changed from family court in Rotorua, where the judge refused to allow the guy a Mackenzie friend and refused to allow him legal representation, to something occurring in the High Court in Wellington in about 6 months' time. And I'd certainly like to organise to get people to the High Court in Wellington for that. The third piece of the puzzle is the changes in inland revenue at the moment. They are undertaking a restructuring exercise that moves towards what they call national streams of specialisation. This means that they have a stream of assistance and they will deal with all the frontline calls. When you ring tax, GST, child support, it will be the same group who answer your phone calls. And all they will be doing basically is gathering information. Now, someone came up here and mentioned that they'd had a message on their answer phone saying that, you know, you'd been overcharged and they needed to work out paying for arrears. There's no overcharging in there, right? They just want you to phone up so they can get their arrears. That's entrapment, okay? Active entrapment. Put those three things together, so you'll now have 5 streams in there. There's assistance, enforcement, specialist services, policy, and there's a 5th one. If you take the Commissioner enacting a review, reviews being available for historical years, and the National Streams of Specialisation, which takes the Child Support Agency from being a social policy function to being a Crown Revenue function, they will come at anybody whose ex has been on the DPB at any stage for additional benefit recovery. Right? Give it to me. You're out of child support now and you're earning $150,000 a year. We want 20% of that right now.
For retrospective?
Aha. That's what this case is. That's what this case is about.
And well, that's what
It's good, isn't it?
And it
Right?
was also, they will also use relationship property as a target.
So that's the reason I'm here. That's the worst possible picture. I would really like to see all of us get together, and I'm going to offer you a little anecdote. I did some Waterwise assistance when my kids were at Chelsea, and they had a, what do they call it, like a competition day. One of the competitions was to put 4 kids in an Optimist sailing dinghy with a wooden cricket bat. Yeah, wooden cricket bat, right, 2 on either side, and they had to paddle this Optimist out round a buoy, 50 metres offshore maybe, and back to shore. Okay, simple task. We were organised in teams, and my team, 4 girls, got organised at the start. They hopped in the first Optimist, right, and there were 3 teams at the same time. That Optimist went out round the buoy and back, like you wouldn't believe, right? The next group off my team, 4 guys. We had barely got to the buoy before the other 2 teams were back, right? They couldn't decide who was going to call stroke. They couldn't decide who was going to sit in what position. They couldn't decide which direction they were going to go, how they were going to steer, nothing.
Had Carol
Now-
confused them?
I don't think she was there that particular day actually, but what I looked at that and went, wow, these 4 girls just got in there and they did it. No discussions, nothing. Wham, chunk, done. The guys got in there and they all went in 4 different directions. And that's something that I've observed in the men's area. We all have our little barrow, and I'm probably the same, that we like to push. So the call is to get down to Wellington for the conference and see if we can unite and push in a common direction. I agree with Bevan. The child support is a good one. It hits people in their pocket, so it has a very, very tangible effect, and we can use it like a general would use a beachhead. That gets us onto the beach, and then we look for the next 2 targets. And I believe it's, as you've described it, a matrix of family law. The child support and the family law and the family court, they're all one big thing. And I've talked to Judith, I've talked to Judy Turner quite a bit. She listens really well. Nothing happens. So call me cynical, but I'm sorry. I don't have a great deal of respect for that lady now. Yep, sorry, Kerry.
Where's the conference?
The conference will be in Wellington. It is on the 26th to the 28th of January, which is anniversary weekend next year. Saturday morning, I believe we're going to visit Mr. Dunn's electoral office and just do a peaceable protest outside. I'm sure you can arrange for some audio accompaniment.
It's anniversary day next weekend.
Anniversary
Auckland
weekend.
anniversary.
Yes,
In Wellington.
in Wellington.
The War for Kids wagon leaves on the 25th. Keep it
Say
in
again?
mind.
The Wellington men's movement will be active.
Ah,
Responsible.
okay.
Have
Yep.
you got a venue organised?
Jim is working on that as we
Okay.
speak. Yep,
But be in Wellington on Auckland anniversary weekend for the
That's
child
correct.
support
Yep.
conference.
now Jim mentioned to me, could we do a convoy down there? I think that's a good idea. I may be down there for work that week, so I might not be able to participate in the convoy, Jim, but certainly the idea of 20 or 30 cars nose to tail across a desert road would be a good piece of camera footage for somebody on TV.
The Republicans will be proud to be part of the convoy.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you. That's about it from me. Any questions?
Just on that,
Yep,
on that
sorry.
convoy, like the idea that we put forward was that the people that take the Friday off work up here for the long weekend, to run that convoy on Friday. So we've got a conference on Saturday,
Sunday,
in
yep.
Wellington, and then
Back on Monday.
people from Auckland will have Monday to drive home here. That's the rationale behind it.
That's the
Thinking
young
that-
fellas, the old
thinking
fellas,
that we-
2 or 3 days on.
Yeah, so if you can manage to drive down there in a day, on the Friday, that'd be really good. That actually unites us on one day to drive at each place like Hamilton, Taupo, Arsenal, that particular time's going down during the day.
We'll be
What
waiting for
about
the
2 days, Thursday and Friday, with the stop and Taupo?
I think you're asking too much of people.
Yeah, asking too much?
Yeah, sorry, Ben.
2 days.
We'll do it different, Kerry.
Speak on behalf of Craig Jackson here at the moment, and the comment I made earlier to Bevan. If you can get down a flyer to Wellington at any stage and send it to Craig, and then we can just, I at least can distribute it, but send it to him.
Yep.
And make it so that it's accessible to the public. So people who are paying child support, who
Yep.
are uncomfortable for whatever reason, should be there to assist in this. So make it so that a
Right.
wider group, rather than just those who would complain about child support, can actually access the
There are 175,000 of us.
and I just need to go down the street and give a piece of paper to someone, and
Yep.
they will want to come.
Okay,
Okay, that's what I want.
Yep.
They want to come.
that's being worked on.
It'd be a lot safer to send it via email to Ben than to
No,
Craig.
it's not, Jim. It's, can you send the leaflets
Craig
down?
almost stopped the last
Print it-
protest tomorrow.
Print it down to Craig.
Oh, bullshit.
We can-
Print it down to Craig.
we can-
Pop down there and we can distribute them.
We can
Oh,
print
if you
them.
go through Craig, I'm not going. Simple as that.
We can
Bloody
print.
near cost us the last protest. That is stupid to suggest that. Can't you guys learn some lessons?
And in the meantime,
Huh.
Mr. Shipman,
Yeah,
how
Paul.
would you like to debate outside Judith Collins in Cleveland?
Certainly. And thank you guys for doing this. Awesome idea. Yep.
Good job, mate.
Well, just